The current Bendix Elementary was built following 3 failed elections.
The style of the building is an open pod system.
Instead of walls, we have dividers up, and we have cupboards and filing cabinets and carpet partitions that act as the walls for our classroom.
Not having the 4 walls and having an open classroom here it's a challenge in itself, just because of the noise problem we have with other classrooms walking around. Media center is right in the middle of my classroom.
So there's locker slamming, they're coming back from lunch and they're getting their stuff on for recess, and so.
It could be a whole class that's walking by, it could be someone flushing a toilet.
All that noise carries through and kids get distracted. It doesn't take much for them to lose focus on what they hear in the hallways.
You know, our doorway leads right into the library, so we see classes come through, 5-6 times a day. You know, my kids are looking out the door.
I mean, there's many days where I have to stop my lesson and wait 5 minutes because they can't hear a thing I'm saying.
It's not conducive for learning.
Of course, whenever you hear a sound, your first reaction is to use your next sense, and that's your eyes.
Or teachers too. I mean, we can hear all the other teachers in the area what they're teaching, so we can hear lessons as we're teaching our own lesson.
I'm reading the book, The 100-Year-Old Secret. Which one are you reading first?
I graduated from Annandale in '86, but even back in '78, they were starting to put walls up or trying to individualize the classrooms. So this teacher wouldn't be over-speaking that teacher, and then this teacher would get louder, and it would just be kind of a yelling match by the end of the day, every day.
Growing up in these other pods, I remember our walls, we didn't have all the way up walls either then, and the learning then was distracting. That chalkboard in the back of my room is the walls they had. I mean, Pete remembers when his teacher would just look over the wall and say, "You guys sit down and be quiet," because that was the wall.
In looking back at the board minutes, it was about a year after it opened where there are problems with it and people advocating for changes, but you cannot take the interior Bendix and simply put walls in there.
If you can imagine one fan blowing air to all these different rooms.
I'm in the first heating section and cooling section of this pod.
So you're at a constant battle between keeping it too cold, too warm, too cold, too warm. There's no individual balancing of it.
We've got 7- and 8-year-olds, they're like, "Mrs. Reimer, I'm sweating, I'm so hot, can't you do something about this?"
And it might be June and I see kids in their winter coats and some kids in tank tops, and how you can go from one room to the next and the temperature is so different.
Those basic things you want to have in place so that students can actually concentrate on learning.
It's something that our kids deal with and we work on, but there's a lot of kids that are distracted and don't get through and don't do their best throughout the school day because of what we have to offer here at school.
I'm the school social worker in this building, and I see kids who have attention difficulties, and when they come in having attention difficulties and then we add our building, it makes it that much more difficult for them to focus on what they're supposed to be focusing on. It really doesn't protect their privacy. If they're loud or crying or having a very difficult day, everybody in the school knows about it and knows who it is.
The experiment with the open pod system has pretty much failed. I think we're one of 2 left in this design in the state of Minnesota.
But to reach the levels that we are expected to reach with student achievement, you have to have a quality learning environment. And Bendix simply is not.
So I think that having a traditional school with walls and doors will allow us to use best practices and ensure a better learning environment for our kids.